Meeting will please come to order. I would ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Pastor Kenneth Richardson from the St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church, and he is the guest of Council Member Erica Gilmore.
Gracious Father, we thank you for the privilege of being citizens of this great nation. Bless these council members. As we are joined together in this room, let us be of one heart, of one mind, that we'll do the best we can for the citizens of this city and this county. God bless this city. God bless this state. God bless the United States of America. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the adoption of the minutes of our September 4th? Is there any objection? If not, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. On your desk, you'll find a letter concerning the vacancy for the juvenile court judge. As you know, Betty Adams Green resigned effective yesterday. All nominations are due in the clerk's office by 4 p.m. on September the 25th. The nominees will be meeting with the Council Rules and Confirmations Committee during the week of October 1st, and the election to fill the vacancy will be conducted October the 16th. So, we now have two presentations. Councilmember Bedney.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Neighbors. Today we have Resolution 2012-408. It's a resolution recognizing the Oliver Middle School Band Program for their accomplishments. And I'll just read some portions of this resolution and then, of course, present it to the director and the assistant director. Whereas the art of creating music has long been an important part of humanity, serving as a voice for those traits that make us truly human, preserving our history and forging bridges between diverse cultures. And whereas recognition should be given to this city's young musicians for their musical skills, talent, and their ability to work together as a member of the Oliver Middle School Band Program. And whereas here at Oliver Middle School, the band program consists of 4 levels of performing ensembles: beginning, intermediate, symphonic, and wind ensemble, and also offers the student the opportunity to audition for and perform in our jazz band. And whereas the extraordinary work and dedication of the young women and men who participate in band average 20 performances throughout the school year in both school and community settings, raising awareness and support for the program, which also has achieved numerous local, regional, state, and national awards. And whereas the Oliver Middle School Band Program started with 7 students, then grew to 95 members less than 9 short years ago, and has since grown by leaps and bounds under the capable leadership of Director Susan Waters and Assistant Director Katie Hara, and now boasts a membership of 350 students and is acknowledged as a competitive entity to be reckoned with. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Metro Council hereby goes on record as recognizing the Oliver Middle School Band Program for the accomplishments. The Metro Council office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to Susan Waters, Director, and Katie Hara, Assistant Director of the Oliver Middle School Band Program on behalf of the student musicians and the school, and this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville-Davidson County requiring it. Sponsored by Councilman Bedney and Banks, and we want to recognize Susan and Katie for the work y'all done. Thank you. And here's the resolution. Okay, ready to take your hand. Here's one copy of this, and we'll give you just a moment to speak if you want.
Oh, goodness. Well, on behalf of Ms. Hara and myself, we thank you very much. It's an honor to serve children every day, and I can't think of a better job and a happier place that I could be at Oliver Middle School. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have another proclamation. Marcela? Okay. And this is a proclamation from the Minority Caucus supporting Futuro. And I think all my Minority Caucus peers are here, and I welcome everybody else from the council that wants to join us. Futuro is an inclusive potential professional development association for Latino college students in Middle Tennessee. Whereas Futuro was created because being intentional with the growth and development of young Latino leaders is critical to the future of the community and the nation, and whereas Futuro is a program of the Tennessee Latin American Chamber of Commerce, and whereas Futuro is dedicated to the development of young Latino leaders as they chart their course for college, and whereas Futuro has 5 main components: academic success, community service, professional skills development, networking, and mentorship. And whereas Futuro meets as an independent entity in college campuses and currently has chapters in 7 colleges and serves over 100 students in Middle Tennessee, and whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes Futuro as it has provided structured career development for Latino college students in Middle Tennessee for the past year while preparing them for the future. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. The Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing Futuro. The Metropolitan Council office directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to Nelson Ramos. I think Marcela is here instead.
No, Maida and Ann.
Okay.
We're all here.
Well, congratulations. Thank you.
We just want to say thank you on behalf of the Tennessee Latin American Chamber of Commerce and the Futuro program, which we feel very committed to. Thank you very much.
Yes. We are now at elections and confirmations on their agenda. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Rules Committee had 2 appointments this evening. The first was Ms. Marilena Ramos, an appointment to the Arts Commission. She was a first-time appointment. The committee voted 6-4-0 against, and I'd like to move her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. The second was Mr. Jim Massey, a first-time appointment to the Property Standards and Appeals Board. The committee voted to recommend 6-4-0 against, and I'd like to move his approval as well.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you, Councilman Davis. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Marilena Ramos and Jim Massey. On behalf of the Metropolitan Council, thank you for your willingness to volunteer your time and your expertise for our great city. Thank you very much. We are now at bills on public hearing. RS 2012-409 exempts Nashville Nightlife Dinner Theater located at 2416 Music Valley Drive from the minimum distance requirement for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Claiborne.
Committee report, please.
I'm sorry. We had a lot of traffic in the aisle. I didn't see your hand. I apologize. Would you like to speak? If you would, please come to the lectern.
Yes, my name's Diana Jansen, and I'm the owner of Nashville Nightlife Dinner Theater on Music Valley Drive, and we've requested to be exempt from the 100-foot distance to obtain our beer permit, and appreciate all that support us in that. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, my apologies. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Bennett, committee report.
Public Safety voted to approve, 6-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Claiborne.
I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are first going to take all of the resolutions that are on the consent agenda, and that would be RS 2012-410 through RS 2012-428. I'm going to read these, and then if there is one that you want to have pulled, I will recognize you. First one is RS 2012-410, appropriates $400,000 from the General Fund Reserve Fund for the purchase of equipment for the Davidson County Election Commission. RS 2012-411 appropriates $1,540,000 from the unappropriated fund balance for the Radio Shop Fund to purchase various equipment for 800 MHZ radio systems. RS 2012-412 approves an agreement between the Tennessee Valley Authority, Nashville Electric Power Service, and Metro General Services for the purchase, interconnection, and operation of electricity generated by solar units. RS 2012-413 approves an application for the Financial Empowerment Center's grant from the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund to the Mayor's Office to implement a program designed to help families make the most of their financial resources. RS 2012-414 approves a grant from the State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services to the State Trial Court's Residential Drug Court Treatment Program. RS 2012-415 approves an annual grant from the State Department of Children's Services to the Davidson County Juvenile Court to provide case management and family support services to children at high risk of state custody. RS 2012-416 approves an application for a juvenile accountability block grant from the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth to juvenile court for funding for 3 community-based probation officers. RS 2012-417 approves an interlocal agreement between the City of Brentwood and Metro government to address gaps and overlaps that exist regarding emergency services. RS 2012-418 approves an interlocal agreement between Mayor's Office of Emergency Management and the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency for the purchase of an underwater remotely operated vehicle and training cost. RS 2012-419 approves an interlocal agreement between the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management and the City of Gallatin for the purchase of watercraft. RS 2012-420 approves a grant from the State Department of Health to Metro Board of Health for the operation of the Women, Infants, and Children's Program. RS 2012-421 approves a grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health for the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. RS 2012-422 approves an amendment to a grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide prevention, surveillance, and sexually transmitted disease program services. RS 2012-423 approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to coordinate resources to ensure the effective and efficient delivery of workforce services. RS 2012-424 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to exercise an option to purchase 3 parcels of property located on Smith Springs Road for use as parkland. RS 2012-425 approves an application for a recycling rebate grant from the State of Tennessee and appropriates the funds once received to the Public Works Department. RS 2012-426 authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle Metro government's property damage claim against Davon Breedlove in the amount of $28,125.28. RS 2012-427 authorizes Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Larry T. Gerard against Metro government and Nashville-Davidson County in the amount of $130,000. RS 2012-428 authorizes the parking of vehicles at the former Stokes Middle School property located at 3701 Belmont Boulevard. Councilmember Mitchell?
Yeah, I'd like to pull 410.
Pardon me?
410.
410. Okay. Councilmember Tigert?
Pull number 412, please.
Any others? Okay, we will first take 410. Appropriates $400,000 from the General Fund Reserve Fund for the purchase of equipment for the Davidson County Election Commission. Councilmember Matthews, do you have a committee report for 410?
I do.
Okay.
Budget and Finance approved 9-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigert?
Thank you. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second.
Last evening, we had a rather lengthy joint meeting with the Rules Committee and Budget and Finance. Albert Tisch, our election commissioner, and two of our commissioners and staff were here to explain the issues that arose in the election, the August election, the problems. We heard a lot of issues, and the main thing that I heard was that this technology, the issue in primary elections has been corrected. The issue that was created was due to a default option that was left there or came with the machine from the supplier of the equipment. This electronic polling books are clearly save cost and manpower, but most importantly, what we learned yesterday is we have a signed contract and have already received delivery of half the machines. So with the understanding that the issues have been totally corrected, they will not be used other than to help direct voters in the November election due to expected redistricting questions and split precincts and get folks to the right place, that this equipment saves a lot of time and effort for election officials to direct people who may be at the wrong precinct based on this redistricting. For that reason, I think it's important that we go ahead and fulfill our obligation and provide these machines for use in the November election behind the scenes, not in the election itself. Thank you.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yeah, last night we did have a lengthy discussion, but that's all we had was a discussion. We didn't get any answers. And the one answer that is simple that we've asked for and we simply can't get the answer for is who at the Election Commission asked for these machines to be programmed in that manner. This company's core business is selling these poll books and election voting machines. So I'm sure they deal with jurisdictions, states, counties, cities all over this country that are of both parties, that are of the majority. So it's suspect to me that this company that deals with both sides, jurisdictions that are majorities on both sides, would have a default for either party that would alienate potentially half of their business. Someone at the Election Commission had to instruct them how to program these machines. It's basic, ladies and gentlemen. Really don't care which primary someone votes in, but I think they ought to have the choice. And there was a whole lot of people in Davidson County in August that a primary was forced upon them. You know, we had people last night asking, how much is this costing the Election Commission to investigate this? Well, my response was the cost is priceless, because the integrity of our elections are just that, priceless. If the citizens of this county do not have faith in the electoral process in our county, then we've got a severe problem. It's bigger than a $400,000 problem. So my suggestion tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is we defer this payment, defer this bill until the corporation can send us the authorization of who at the Election Commission told them to program these machines in this manner. It's basic. These folks, like I said, they deal with both parties as a corporation. They would not set a machine to defer to one party or the other. That would alienate their business. Bad business for them. They're in the business of selling these machines. I'm sure there is a form that someone had to check off how to program that machine before they were delivered to us. And we're never going to find out that answer if we send this check, ladies and gentlemen. I can assure you, if we don't send this check to them, they will give us the answer of who told them to program these machines in that manner. I've heard we've got a contractual obligation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the last time I checked, this body has the power of the purse string for this city. And we can approve this money or not. I really don't care what department has contracted with who about what. Until we approve this $400,000, it will not be paid. So, like I said, I don't care which primary you vote in the future, you should have a choice though. We had a lot of Nashvillians in August that did not have a choice, and when we start tampering with elections, we got a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I move for deferral.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the deferral? I know some people have their request to speak light on. Do you wish to speak on the motion to defer, Councilman Dominy?
My request was to speak on the bill. I think it would be appropriate to have the Administrative Election to answer to many of the questions that were brought up by my colleague from the 35th District.
We do that in committee meeting.
Well, those questions were answered. Apparently, my colleague may not have heard them, those answers.
Any other discussion on the motion to defer? Councilmember Evans, do you wish to speak on the motion to defer?
No, ma'am. I just wanted to pull another one off of the consent agenda.
I'll come back to you. Let's deal with this one first. Okay, we'll have a machine vote. All in favor of the motion to defer, vote yes. If you don't want to defer, vote no. Madam Clerk.
15 aye, 24 no, 0 abstentions.
The motion to defer fails. We're now back on discussion on the bill. Councilmember Berry, did you wish to speak?
Yes, I did. I actually just voted for the deferral. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I actually think that it's a narrow question here about whether or not we owe the money, and we do owe the money, and we have to pay the money, which is the question before us. I mean, I don't care if we pay the money now or if we pay the money in a month, to Councilman Mitchell's question, but I do think, and I have asked for, and several council members have also asked for, an audit of the processes, and I still think that that's very critical, that we get an audit from the Election Commission to find out what exactly happened, and I think that these are two separate issues. We are going to end up paying these funds if we pay it today, or if we pay it next week, or we pay it in several months. We are contractually obligated to do it. So we have to pay them, but I still think we deserve some answers. Thank you.
Councilmember Garrett.
Oh, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. John, just a quick question. Make sure everybody knows this that might be listening. We're not using these machines at the next election.
Right, not at the November election. They will only be used by in November by the poll workers to look things up, but
Right, I
not as
understand.
part
I
of the election.
just want to make sure folks realize that we're not using them, and also that our Chairman Matthews did recommend that we have an audit on this, and I just make sure Chairman Matthews does know that, and I have confidence that he'll pursue that when the time comes.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yeah, I just want to, one more thing I'd like for my colleagues to do. We're not using these poll books, but we're using this corporation's same voting machines, ladies and gentlemen. And I ask you, when you get home tonight, you do a little Google search on iVotetronic poll machines. You will be shocked to find you'll be shocked to see what you find on that search. There has been, you could vote for, say, this election, you'll vote for president, you'll vote for U.S. Senate, the page for Congress, a skip. Then it'll come up another page for state Senate, state House. It may skip a next election. There was a congressional race in the state of Florida where there were 13,000 votes for a congressional race that page skipped in one county. So 13,000 people went to vote, and they were unable to vote for that particular race. So just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. If we can have a ATM machine, like my colleague Megan Berry said last night, spit out a receipt to tell us how much we have left in our account. Surely to goodness we can have a voting machine that spits out a little piece of paper that tells us who we voted for. But we've got some serious issues with these machines, and we're not getting any answers. We're just saying pay the bill. Thank you.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just want to stand and, as Councilman Garrett alluded to, I did request that an audit be conducted. The Election Commission has agreed to go through the audit. They are not opposed to that at all. They did ask and request that we wait until after the November election, which I think is a very reasonable request because this is an important election. They do need to do what they have to do to get the poll workers and everyone prepared for this election, and they are prepared to go through an audit. So the Budget and Finance Committee, and I will work with Councilman Davis and the Rules Committee also to make sure that we're very diligent in following through with the audit.
Thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I want to just say that I had a conversation with the election administrator right before we went into session tonight, and I told him that in my experience, a system is made of people, process, and technology. And it's apparent, at least in some of these cases, that either one or more or all three of those may have failed. And so it would just be my hope that as they go forward with the audit, whenever it takes place, that they take a look at each of those three areas and focus in on those, and then they let us know what we need to do to support them in improving any one of those three areas. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Badney.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. When I saw what happened, I sent a letter to the commissioners asking that that I myself had an issue when I went to vote a couple of elections ago, and I got the Republican ballot. I was able to see that wasn't the one I selected, so I asked for a different one. But that kind of brought to mind that perhaps there is a pattern here, and it will be important to keep a log of issues that may happen during election time. So I requested that be done by the commission. And I talked to with Mr. Teague, and we're trying to, I asked the help of the League of Women Voters to come up with issues that we might want to log. Now, hopefully, the log will result in a blank log where nothing gets recorded because everything is good, and I believe that the best way to make Nashvillians feel at ease about the election process is to demonstrate through a log that is independent, impartial, and non-partisan that everything is kosher. So I just wanted to report that I'm working on that. Thank you.
Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I stand because I voted for the deferment because I wanted to make sure that we did have this audit. I also have just a couple points I want to make. I want to thank Mr. Tisch for coming before the Minority Caucus to make a presentation. It was at that meeting that we were given information that District 58 that involved a incumbent, Mary Pruitt, with Harold Love and Stephen Turner, and their election may have been affected by this glitch in the system. This is a serious matter. We're not talking about something that could have happened. We were given the information that we had over 100 voters who have never voted Republican in a primary all of a sudden had a Republican ballot, and that after they went through the numbers, that there were well over the number of voters, well over the number of the margin between Harold Love Jr. and Mary Pruitt. Now, of course, it would assume that Mary Pruitt would have to get all the votes, but that election could have been affected by this glitch. Then at the joint meeting that we had, the numbers changed. And miraculously, the number of voters that voted Republican was now to 29, and then could not have affected the election. So I stand here to say that this is a serious matter. It is nothing about hypothesis. This is serious, and that's why I'm standing. The second point I want to make is this: is if Bo Mitchell is wrong, and the company made the unilateral decision to default to Republicans, why in the world are we doing business with a company that will make that unilateral decision? They should just go ahead and void the contract and work with a company or vendor that has greater integrity and that would contact them and say, do you want us to default or not? I believe that we are dealing with a company, a vendor that I don't know, I know this is a glitch, and I said this yesterday, but I need to get off my chest. I believe that I would not have as much heartburn over this matter if we did not have election commissioners contributing directly to candidates in Davidson County. It should be against the policy of the election commission. School board's on my mind because of the Tennessean today. But if we have a policy that the election commission should not be allowed to contribute directly to candidates, because the election commission will be the final arbiter if there is a contested race. If Mary Pruitt had contested the race and would have had more glitches and with votes greater than the margin, then the election commission would have had to get involved and make the decision. What if one of those election commissioners had contributed to Mary Pruitt or Harold Love or Stephen Turner? We would then have to question the integrity of the system. So I believe that the election commissions on their own should refrain and be prohibited from contributing directly to candidates. I believe because of that policy of election commissioners contributing directly to candidates and then having this glitch, many of us have tremendous heartburn over what we see happening, even though this may have been an innocent mistake. Vice Mayor, thank you for indulging me. I appreciate you.
Councilmember Tigert.
I wasn't going to say anything else, but since the integrity of our administrator of elections seems to have been questioned, I am shocked that we have selective memory, some of my colleagues. Number one, reflecting on the 58th district race. In a split precinct where votes could have been cast in two different districts, we heard exactly why the numbers have changed. Exactly why the numbers have changed. So to imply that the numbers miraculously changed out of thin air is just absolutely incorrect and should not have ever been said, in my opinion. Secondly, we heard about problems in Florida from the company that we have been using their machines for years and have impeccable elections, and now we've put all this fear in our citizens. We heard the problems in Florida are because most of those counties choose to program their own system and not use the protocols of the company. And that's not the case here. So we have logical explanations for everything that occurred here, and to imply that there were improprieties or direct attempts to influence elections is totally false and inappropriate to be said.
Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise to support the passage of our obligation to pay a contractual debt. I agree with Councilwoman Berry that this is two separate issues. we have already put forth and have been confirmed, or it has been confirmed with the Election Commission that they're going to do the audit, that they're going to get to the bottom of it. I, too, have had extended conversations with Mr. Tisch, and I am fully confident that this issue has been blown out of proportion, and I am fully confident that our Election Commission has got this well in hand. We are not going to be using the machines during the election. We have plenty of time to force errors that he admitted needed to be forced, and he will pursue that. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Tenpenny.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Neighbors. I just want to say, Mr. Tisch, when I went to see him last week, he explained in depth about the machines and what happened. If you did not go see Mr. Tisch and you don't know what happened, I know that he spoke yesterday, but it seems like some of my colleagues have a memory lapse of what he explained and what he said. And I would like for him to get up, and if anyone's got any questions about this at all, why don't you ask the man? He told you what happened in these elections. Everything that I've heard has been it's been false tonight. And for us to jump the Election Commission and to jump Mr. Tisch, that's not right. Look at the paper, y'all. It's right in front of your faces right here. You show me the discrepancies. It's not there. So I say if you've got a problem with the Election Commission, he's sitting right back there. Ask him. Mr. Maynard, Mr. Mitchell, he's right there. If you've got a problem with it, talk to the man.
Councilmember Garrett.
This is ridiculous.
Madam Vice Mayor, I would respectfully call for the question.
All in favor, please say aye. Okay, previous question passes. We're now back on the motion to approve RS 2012-410. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Evans, which one did you wish to pull?
Madam Chair, 428, Resolution 428.
Okay, next we're going to have RS 2012-412, approves agreements between the Tennessee Valley Authority, Nashville Electric Power Service, and Metro General Services for the purchase, interconnection, and operation of electricity generated by solar power. Councilmember Matthews, I'll recognize you, and also for the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval. Committee report first. The committee approved 9-4, 0 against, and I'd like to move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Tiger?
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for indulging me. There were some questions that were asked General Services yesterday that were not available, and I just wanted to share that information and my concern. My questions were simply, what were the cost of these devices, the solar panels, and what was the return per year on each of the machines? And the reason I asked this question, because we had the issue of the wind turbine on Love Circle a while ago that had a 100-year payback. And I know it all makes us feel good to go green and to save trees, and trust me, I've sponsored legislation for green parking and carpool with my wife and all those things that I think I do in my part. So my reason for this, for bringing this issue up is this. These solar panels at each of the 2 fire halls are $50,000. The return on energy produced is $2,500 per year, so it's a 20-year return on investment. Now, most investors would look at that and say, I'm not going to invest in that technology because I can get a better return elsewhere. And I only raise this issue for this reason. When we have buildings in metro government, I don't care if they're schools, this building, all I have to do is point to those windows right there that's sucking this cold air out as we speak. And we have secretaries in their offices in wintertime that are wrapped in blankets and perhaps have bootleg heating devices under their desk. Maybe, but that's just hearsay. We have other pressing issues that $100,000 to solve our energy problems and save taxpayer monies would be better used for until the technology catches up. The engineer installing these made the point in another part of the explanation was that solar panels have decreased in price 60% over the last several years. And as the technology improves, the payback will get better. So all I'm saying is I'm going to vote no on this tonight until we as a government have placed our priorities where the dollars can best be used for an immediate return. Windows, turning lights out when you leave offices, insulation, and all those are far better uses of our taxpayer dollar and save more energy for this country than what this solar panel will produce. Thank you.
Councilmember Bedney.
Yeah, Councilman Tiger just got offended that Maynard insulted the Election Commission, but he just insulted General Services by saying that they don't have devices to control electricity or the heating in the building. And I think it's unfair. I know they told us during the budget review all the measures they took into consideration to lower our electrical bill. And I think that comparing solar panels to a historic building need to preserve the windows is like comparing apples to oranges. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Stein.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. These panels have already been installed, Mr. Cooper? Yes, sir. So once again, council is the cart, and we've been pulled, and we're making a decision on something that's already done, correct?
Well, the panels were purchased with capital funds that the council had appropriated. This is just the agreement with NES to be able to get some return on the investment.
So we've already spent the money, though, in the capital. Okay, so I would say that the same argument that just applied to a contractual agreement, that anybody votes against this is voting against a contractual agreement, and it's already over and done with, and all this is going to do is get us something back for the investment that we already made.
Councilmember Berry, did you wish to speak? No. Councilmember Perdue?
No, I'm out.
Okay, seeing no one else wishing to speak, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We'll need a machine vote. If you want to approve it, vote yes. If you want to disapprove it, vote no. Madam Clerk, will you close the machines and tally the vote?
36 yes, 2 no, 0 abstentions.
The motion passes. Next, we're on RS 2012-428, authorizes the parking of vehicles at the former Stokes Middle School, property located at 3701 Belmont Boulevard. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Bedney. On 428.
Yes, the Education Committee approved it 5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This resolution essentially approves something that's been going on for the better part of the past 2 years, which is Lipscomb using the former Stokes School as overflow parking. It solves a great need in District 25. It keeps Lipscomb students and faculty from parking on the area residential streets. I also believe about 26 or 27 of you signed on to a letter authored by Councilman Stites urging the school board and Dr. Register to permit this to continue to go on. So unfortunately, this resolution is necessary to do that. So I ask that you help us continue to keep parking off the residential streets of District 25. Thank you.
Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize to my colleague for bringing this and pulling this off the agenda. I was a little behind the 8 ball this week, and I have to vote against it. the reason that we are allowing, so you know, parking on the Stokes campus by Lipscomb is not permitted under the zoning code, and that's a decision that's been made by the zoning administrator. This resolution is allowing MMPS to rely on something called sovereign immunity, saying that we don't control what happens from a zoning perspective on MMPS property. MMPS has enough empty property in this county to fit another school system in it. So all of us have MMPS property in our districts that could be used for some purpose other than a school, which is what this vote's about. So my concern here is that Lipscomb is using the campus, not MMPS. MMPS uses it for storage, but is relying on its sovereign immunity under the zoning code to permit essentially a commercial activity in a residential neighborhood. And I understand and appreciate all of the benefits, but the precedent that is suggested by this resolution is deeply concerning to me, who has a number of institutions, and concerning to anybody who has empty tracts of MMPS property in their district and wants it to be used for, you know, residential-like or school-like purposes. And with that, I just have to urge you to vote no.
Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we will now have a machine vote. Vote yes if you want to approve it, and no if you want to disapprove it. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
34 aye, 4 no, 1 abstention.
Motion passes. We'll now go back to the items on our consent agenda. I need committee reports for 2012-411 and then 2012-413 through 427. Councilmember Matthews. Ron.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. On 2012-411, 2012-413, 414, 415, 416, 417, 418, 419, 420, 421, and 422, Budget and Finance approved 9-0. For 423, 424, 425, 426, and 427, Budget and Finance approved 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiner, Health and Hospitals.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. 2012-420 approved 7-0. 421 approved 7-0. 422 approved 7-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore, Parks and Libraries.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. 238, it was 7-4 and 0 against.
Okay, Councilmember Banks.
423 was approved 6-0 by Personnel Committee.
Okay. Councilmember Gilmore, do you have a report on 424?
I don't, and I just realized you said 424 and I said 238. I don't.
We'll come back to that. Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic Committee voted to approve RS 2012-424 by a vote of 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. 417, we voted to approve on public safety, 6-4-0 against. On 418 and 419, we approved 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember, let's see. Councilmember Potts, Public Works.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works voted to approve RS 2012-425, 7-4-0 against.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I apologize for that. Okay, 424, it's 4 and 0 against.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at charter amendments, and what we're going to do is we'll go through each one. We will have a machine vote on each one. They need 27 votes to pass. Once we've gone through, those that have received 27 votes will be rolled into one resolution, and then we will vote on that one, and it will need to have 27 votes. The first one is RS 2012-277. This amendment would add an exception to the requirement that employees of the metropolitan government have only one position with metropolitan government to allow employees the opportunity to work as part-time poll workers for the Election Commission. Councilmember Jernigan.
Do I need to do a committee report for the revision committee as well? Or okay, committee reports, please.
Councilmember Holloman.
The committee approved this one unanimously.
Thank you. Councilmember Jernigan.
Move approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. We're going to have a machine vote.
This is just letting substitute.
Everyone needs to vote, please. Has everyone voted? Okay, Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
38 ayes, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is RS 2012-278. This amendment would remove the requirement that the Director of the Metropolitan Department of Public Works be a licensed engineer. The Metro Charter requirement that the Director have at least 5 years' experience in industry or in municipality or Metropolitan Public Works would remain. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Holloman.
Committee disapproved this charter amendment. I'm sorry. Committee approved this charter amendment 4-1. You got one.
Thank you. Councilman Tiger.
I move approval with a very brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
I wasn't going to say anything, but since my colleague back there is trying to muddy the water, over the years, the position of Public Works Director has grown from overseeing bridge building and road building and whatnot to contract management, managing the department efficiently, making sure that employees are motivated and in the right position and to do their jobs, et cetera. We have a position dedicated to a chief engineer that does oversee the position. So rather than the hypocrisy of calling our Public Works Director, an interim Public Works Director for 10 years or more, as we've had to do in the past, it would seem to me we'd allow the people to vote on this and to remove that requirement.
Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we will have a machine vote. Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
34 aye, 3 no, 1 abstention.
Motion passes. Next is RS 2012-279. This amendment would align the elections of the mayor, vice mayor, district council members, and council members at large with the statewide primary election commencing in August 2016, thus combining existing elections and eliminating the need for separate elections solely for these offices. This would result in a 5-year term for such offices commencing September 1, 2011, and then 4-year terms thereafter. Councilmember Tiger.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Holloman.
Committee voted to disapprove this one 5-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Tiger.
I move to withdraw this amendment.
We have a motion. All in favor of withdrawal, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion to withdraw passes. Next is RS 2012-280. This amendment would allow the Metropolitan Council by ordinance to enact an equal opportunity interviewing policy to be implemented by the Civil Service Commission that would prohibit the Metropolitan government from inquiring about a job applicant's criminal history on the initial job application unless a criminal background check for the position is required by state or federal law or in the interest of public safety. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Holloman.
Committee voted to disapprove 5-0 at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Yes, I would like to request an indefinite deferral with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to thank all my colleagues who helped co-sponsor this bill with me. It means a lot to me. There are some 31 areas across the United States that are limiting discrimination in cities and counties and jobs against people with criminal records. In the past couple of years, Connecticut, Washington, Michigan, and Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, that is, and Ohio have all joined the movement to remove the boxes. More of our communities have taken critical steps of removing unfair barriers to unemployment in their hiring policies by removing the questions on their job applications regarding the individuals with criminal history, deferring background checks into the latter stages of the hiring process, and only performing background checks for certain positions. By opening the hiring process to emphasize current qualifications rather than past mistakes, communities open their doors to qualified individuals and reduce administrative costs. With that being said, this bill is too important to me to fail. So I want to continue to work on it. So I'm going to try to work with the Civil Service Commission. And if that doesn't work, we'll bring it back. So with that, I request a deferral again.
We have a motion for indefinite deferral. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to thank Council Lady Gilmore for all of her hard work on this, and I hope that when she does bring this back, or she is able to work with the Civil Service Commission, that we can get this through. So thank you.
All in favor of indefinite?
Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, but I couldn't hit my request to speak, but it was on. I just want to say that the committee's vote was really, the discussion was about the desire to work with the Civil Service Commission before we went to a charter amendment. It was not necessarily the committee members' view of the substantive issue.
Thank you for the clarification. All in favor of indefinite deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Indefinite deferral passes. BL 2012-358, this amendment would require all departmental budget hearings conducted by the Metropolitan Council or any of its committees to be concluded no later than the first day of June. Councilmember Blaylock.
Thank you. Committee reports.
Councilmember Holloman.
The committee voted 5-0 against this amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Blaylock.
Thank you. I'd like to withdraw this at this time.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of withdrawal, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion to withdraw passes. Next is RS 2012-377. This amendment would recognize the sheriff's authority to perform additional duties per ordinances passed by the Metropolitan Council to provide security within government buildings and at government meetings. This amendment would also allow the council, upon recommendation of the Metropolitan Chief of Police and the sheriff, to authorize the sheriff to perform duties as may be unassigned by the charter or currently assigned to the Metropolitan Chief of Police relating to the intake, processing, identification, and questioning of arrestees, detainees, prisoners, and other persons in official custody. Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report, please, ma'am.
Councilmember Holloman.
The committee voted to approve by a vote of 3-2.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, ma'am. John, is there an amendment to this as well? The amendment's already on. Madam Vice Mayor, I hope everybody here has talked this out thoroughly with those individuals that are involved. The police chief is here and the sheriff has been here. What this does is give the sheriff the ability to do what the sheriff has been doing since '96. The booking, DNA swabs, providing security to this building we're in, providing security in the hospital, all those activities have been done through more or less memorandum of understanding that the police chief and the sheriff and the mayor have all agreed to through the years. The only thing that you're going to hear about this, I guess if anybody has something different to say or that doesn't want this on the ballot, is there's a legal case that may have some bearing on it one way or the other. And then the 287G program, there's no way to get around not talking about that. The sheriff has said that he's not going to renew that, so that should take that worry away from anybody that's involved with this particular program. So that's what this does. I hope you understand that if this doesn't get on the ballot and if this doesn't pass, then the our Chief Anderson will be taking over the duties of all of what the sheriff has been doing, which will cost a considerable amount of money. I believe the figure was up to $4 million, and I certainly hope that we will allow this to be on the ballot. Thank you. And I move approval.
I have a motion and a second. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we'll have a machine vote. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
36 aye, 2 no, 0 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is RS 2012-378. This amendment would rename the School Mothers Patrol Division within the Metropolitan Police Department as the School Crossing Guard Division to be consistent with current practices. Councilmember Evans.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Holloman.
Committee voted in support of this amendment 5-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll have a machine vote. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
38 aye, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Next is RS 2012-393. This amendment would rename the Department of Water and Sewage Services as the Department of Watershed Management and would remove storm sewers as a function within the Department of Public Works and would add stormwater management as a function within the Department of Watershed Management. Councilmember Evans.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Holloman.
The committee voted to approve 5-0 as amended.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans.
Okay, I need to move the amendment. Mr. Cooper, would you like to give a little explanation of that?
Yes, there is a substitute replacement for this charter amendment that would remove the portions dealing with the renaming of the department. So the revised amendment would simply reflect the shift of the stormwater functions from Public Works to Metro Water.
And with that, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Councilmember Stein?
The amendment.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilmember Evans?
Move approval as amended.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Stein?
I apologize for being out for my holiday yesterday, and so maybe this has been discussed, but why is this necessary for this to be part of the charter?
The charter currently specifies that what in 1963 was called storm sewers is a function of the Public Works Department. Since 2003 or so, there's been an MOU and then a subsequent ordinance that transferred that function to Metro Water. So this would just clean up the charter to reflect current
reality.
Practice.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Barry?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think I just wanted to make sure I understand. So this already cleans up something that's already happening, like the previous, the sheriff's amendment. Okay, thanks.
Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we'll have a machine vote. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
38 aye, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Motion passes. So we now have RS 2012-277, 278, 377, 378, and 393 that will be rolled into one resolution, 277, which the number will be 277. Before we vote on those, Councilman Holloman, would you like to be recognized?
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor. At this time, I would like to move to withdraw the following resolutions, and these resolutions are the ones that were not previously withdrawn that were rolled into the main resolution, so that those are taken off of the table for consideration. At this time, I'd like to move to withdraw resolution number RS 2012-278, RS 2012-377, RS 2012-377, 378, and RS 2012-393.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Those have been withdrawn. Councilman Holloman, do I have a motion for the approval of RS 2012-277?
Move approval as amended.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Gilmore?
Yes, I just wanted a little bit of clarity because I thought 280 was supposed to come off. I didn't.
It's already been deferred indefinitely.
Okay.
I didn't withdraw yours because it was being deferred indefinitely.
Got it. I appreciate the clarity. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the combo resolution 277. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we're going to have a machine vote. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
39 ayes, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
277 passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Are there any of those that need to be pulled? Is there a motion for approval of all bills on introduction? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on second reading. First one is BL 2012-206, amends the Metro Code pertaining to fire flow requirements for single-family homes constructed on larger lots in the General Services District. Councilmember Hunt.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Bennett.
Public Safety voted 1 for, 5 against, 1 not voting.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Codes, Fair, and Farmers Market voted 5 for, 0 against for indefinite deferral at the request of the sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Well, Madam Chairman, since I don't want to aim first and shoot second, I'd like to defer this bill indefinite deferral.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of indefinite deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Indefinite deferral passes. BL 2012-213 amends the Metro Code to require members of boards and commissions to provide an email address and telephone number for posting on the Nashville.gov website. Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Rules voted 6 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you. I believe that's as amended as well.
Amended.
And I want to thank, by the way, and I move approval of the bill, and then I'd like to move the amendment, please.
Please move the amendment.
I'll make a motion on the amendment.
Have a motion and a second.
And I'd like to explain the amendment.
Go ahead.
With the help of our district council member from 24 with his patience and the help of my colleague on my left here for his patience over the last year, we have what this does is it allows for a telephone number, and it can be either the business number or a mobile telephone number or home number, a choice that the individual on the commission makes themselves. And that would be put on the internet at nashville.gov for anyone who is on a commission or a board. And that's what the amendment does.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. I have requests to speak on the amendment. Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to make sure, because I've had a lot of folks ask me about this, that I did get clarification today in committee that the business number that you can provide can be the business of the commission or the board office that you can provide. So if you don't feel comfortable providing a home phone or you don't want to give out your mobile number, you don't have to. You can just give that business number. Thanks.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to commend Councilman Garrett. I supported this bill, and I think it's a great bill. So thank you so much, Councilman Garrett.
Okay, we're back on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Garrett.
I move approval, ma'am.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-237 amends the Metro Code relative to employee and retiree benefits, pensions, and medical benefits. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports are in. correct?
Correct.
Then I move approval.
Okay. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to offer 2 amendments to the bill. The first is basically something of a housekeeping that changes dates. Mr. Cooper, would you explain that?
Yes, the amendment would make the provisions of the bill applicable to employees hired on or after January 1st, 2013.
And this is for the benefit, basically,
of the HR department so that they can get their systems revised or whatever they need to do to implement it.
Thank you. I would move approval of the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on that amendment. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The first amendment passes.
The second is a supplemental amendment to what we had originally considered last council meeting. And Mr. Cooper, would you explain the addition to the provisions of the previous amendment?
Yes. No idea. Well, this amendment is something that was not part of the study and formulating committee discussion. Right. The amendment as revised would eliminate the subsidized health insurance for members of council after they leave office. The amendment would grandfather in all former and all current council members. So if you are a sitting council member today, you would be eligible for the subsidized health insurance after serving 8 years. A part that's added to the amendment from what was distributed last meeting is those serving, if you weren't already grandfathered, those serving 10 or more years after 2019. So if you were elected for the next term and you served 10 years at any point, you would be eligible for the subsidized insurance, but you would pay the rate that retirees would pay under with the same service. So under this bill, there's a new formula for determining the percentage of the premium that retirees pay. So if you've served 10 years, you would pay 75% of the premium, and Metro would pay 25%, and then it adjusts depending on your years of service. So this would make, in the event a council member went from at-large to district or district to at-large, or if term limits were ever repealed, it would apply in that situation.
So basically it makes the council equal with all other Metro employees.
Retirees.
Retirees, right.
Going forward.
Going forward. So the Study and Formulating Committee came forward with the bill that we are considering here and made recommendation of to make the cost of government more sustainable. And certainly health benefits are one of the larger portions of the cost of government. This bill, as Mr. Cooper explained, would make it possible for any individual council member who wanted to make this basically a career, if they loved to come here enough to run for a third or fourth term and be able to serve for more than 8 years, then they would be on par with all other Metro employees. We have police officers who go to work every day that put their lives on the line, firemen who are committed to protecting life and property. Some of those individuals will leave for whatever reason the employee of Metro government before they reach 10 years. This bill or this amendment makes us no different than those people. It doesn't signify that we're an elite group, that we deserve something that nobody else deserves. And it sends a message that we consider ourselves to be equal with all other Metro employees, that we're no more important, that we're no more deserving than they are. And so I would encourage you to support this, and I would move for passage of the amendment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all that new information, I would move to defer and re-refer to the Budget and Finance Committee so that we could decide. Can we do that?
You can't defer the amendment, no.
You cannot what?
You cannot defer an amendment.
Then I'm going to vote against it. I believe with all the information we have not had sufficient time to go over it, to deliberate over it. The second thing I want to say, too, is that if this is such a good amendment, it should apply to all of us in this room. That I believe it's immoral for me to take advantage of this benefit and then vote to say that people who follow me cannot have this benefit. So if this amendment is so good for the government and so good for those who will follow in our footsteps, then we should really have it apply to us. And we should be forced to comply with the amendment. So I'm going to vote no. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Stein.
Inquiry, Mr. Cooper. Why can't, I'm not sure whether I'm for this or against this, but this amendment was not vetted in either committee, which is really contrary to the way we usually do business around here, particularly since the Vice Mayor asked us to discuss these things in detail, and there's a complexity here. My question is, why can't we re-refer the entire bill before we act on the amendment to committee and have committee then vet this and then bring it forward in an orderly fashion?
Well, two things. First, there's a motion pending, so that motion to approve the amendment would have to be withdrawn and then the bill deferred and re-referred. I'm not sure what the time implications or what the implications would be of delaying the bill. Again, it was deferred.
Who would know that?
The finance director.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Cooper, for that glowing endorsement of my knowledge. You know, my interest in this bill is the recommendations that were made by the Study and Formulating Committee. This was a year process in which a citizen group met religiously, met with employee groups, and we forged a number of recommended changes that have the support of all the employee groups to improve, to save money. Now, I don't want to see this lost amid the council issue on this issue of council health insurance, which is separate. It was not taken up by the Study and Formulating Committee, and frankly, in my opinion, shouldn't be part of this bill at all. If council wants to deal with this issue, you ought to deal with this issue. I don't care what your position on it is, but we need this bill passed for the betterment of the government. If we don't get these, the longer we delay these changes, it's going to have implications on, we now move the date back to January 1st. Are we going to move it back again? Some of the changes will have fiscal. There's talk about millions of dollars of savings to the government over time by making these changes. So our position is very clear that this has been vetted, the bill, through the Study and Formulating Committee, through the Benefit Board, which again has a lot of employee representatives, and I would like to not see this bill caught up in this issue, which is not something that came from the Study and Formulating Committee as the other recommendations did.
Councilman Stein.
Well, with that explanation, then I'm not going to. I think that the amendment ought to be vetted in a way that we have ample time to discuss it and not have these time limitations. So I'm going to vote against the amendment. I would urge the sponsor to bring the bill back, withdraw it, or bring it as a separate bill. This is a procedural, just in the interest of us talking through it all, which I don't think we can do tonight. And I think it's an important thing, and I might well be for it if we had an opportunity to talk and think through it. So in the interest of not holding this up, I would urge, if he would consider it, to pull the amendment, bring it as a separate bill, and let us move forward with the bill, because we can always bring that forward as a separate issue, can we not?
Councilman Claiborne, do you wish to change your motion?
I will offer to withdraw the amendment and bring it back as a bill at a later date, and I invite any members of the council that are interested in working to make our government more the cost of government more sustainable to join with me, and let's come up with something that we can all agree on.
Okay. We're back on the bill with the one amendment. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in and the amendment passing, I move approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-241, amends the Metro Code to require an annual contract for services between Metro Government and Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce for the Partnership 2020 program to be approved by resolution of council. Councilmember Dominic.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move for a deferral until the second meeting in October.
Okay, could I get a committee report? Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance recommended disapproval of this bill, 2 for, 6 against, and 2 not voting.
Thank you. And your motion is to defer until
the second meeting in October. There was a couple discussions held after the Budget and Finance Committee meeting and some amendments suggested. I want to see if we can find a way to address those. And the bill is not designed to debate the value of Partnership 2020 or the benefit the Chamber may bring to the city. The bill is specifically and purposefully drafted to bring accountability to the process that this city gives out money. The Chamber for a number of years has received $300,000 per year, and this is the first year there's been debate within this body regarding that. And so that was the desire, is to bring some accountability through a resolution approving that grant or that funding of that organization. It's just a matter of integrity and accountability, and that's what I was seeking. And hopefully we can find a solution within the bill. If not, we may have to find another way to bring that accountability. That's what it's for. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your support for the two meeting deferral.
All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Deferral passes. Next is BL 2012-242, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements by negotiation or condemnation for intersection improvements at Jefferson Street and 28th Avenue and Jefferson Street and 21st Avenue North. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-243, authorizes the acquisition and acceptance of right-of-way easements and property rights for sidewalk bikeway improvements along White Bridge Road. Councilmember Matthews.
Am I the only? No committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Budget and Finance, Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 10 for, 0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-250 amends the Metro Code pertaining to former police department canines and horses. Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved as amended, 10 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Bennett.
Public Safety approved, 7 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you. I'd like to move the amendment, please. And John, would you explain the amendment, please?
Have a motion and a second.
The amendment essentially does three things. First, it clarifies that the bill applies to former service animals as well as those going who will be retired in the future. It adds horseshoeing expense reimbursement as one of the requirements, and it gives a right of first refusal to the police officer that was last assigned to the animal at the time the animal is retired, gives them the right of first refusal to accept the donation of the animal. If the police officer declines, then any person who had given the animal to Metro would have the opportunity to get the animal back. And if they decline, then it could go to any other person or agency or organization.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, and I'd like to move the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. And with the help of Council Lady Bennett and Council Lady Weiner and Councilman Pardue, we have gone real slow with this because dealing with animals has always been a sensitive issue, and the chief has been helpful, and the mayor has actually been involved as well. And so we would want to defer this one more time. So I want to make sure that to keep it on second reading in case there are any other amendments that we need to adopt to make sure that we look after these animals as they retire.
Okay, we have a motion to defer one meeting as amended. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-251 approves a facilities use agreement between Metro Nashville Public Schools and Nashville State Community College for use of space to serve as the temporary location for the Academy at Hickory Hollow. Councilmember Dow.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Councilmember Bedney.
Yeah, thank you. Education, approved 5-0. And Mr. Cooper reported at the meeting that we got a letter from planning that we're approving the bill, so we're good.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 10-0, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Dow.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-252 approves the abandonment of 215 feet of a sanitary sewer main and easements and to accept 590 feet of a relocated 8-inch sanitary sewer on properties located at 1600 Rosa L. Parks Boulevard and Rosa L. Parks Boulevard, unnumbered. Councilmember Gilmore.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Bills on third reading. First is BL 2012-193, changes 1.52 acres from CS to MUL zoning for property located at 265 Old Hickory Boulevard. Councilmember Pridemore.
The committee reports are in for the original bill, correct?
I need one more from Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Pridemore.
I move for passage with an amendment.
Move the substitute.
Yes, substitute amendment.
We have a motion. Is there a second on? We have a second on the substitute. Any discussion? All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilmember Pridemore.
Move for passage.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-194, changes 31.96 acres from IWD to SP zoning for properties located at 2050 Lucas Lane and at Lucas Lane unnumbered west of Dickerson Pike to permit scrap operation, retail, and all other uses permitted in the IWD zoning district. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve by a vote of 9-4-1 abstention.
Councilmember Davis.
I'd like to move for passage of this bill with a brief explanation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
I rise in strong support of this bill. This bill is a long time coming.
I'm sorry, Councilman Davis, to interrupt you, but you need to move the substitute first.
Okay. I apologize, Madam Chair.
I know. I'm sorry. I should have caught it.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Davis.
Well, as I stated before, let me be clear. I move in strong support of this legislation. What we're doing here is that we are making sure that the citizens of the Shady Hills community, with the substitution bill for this, we are limiting the usage of the site. We are including a storefront, and also, more importantly, with this bill, we are ensuring jobs that are needed in my community. More importantly, right now, what we're doing with this legislation, this is not, and let me repeat, this is not a junkyard or a scrapyard. LKQ has made a significant investment in Davidson County and in our community, and I look forward for them being a strong community partner in my community. But once again, for the record, let me be clear. This is not a junkyard or a scrapyard. This is an auto parts recycling facility. Very clean, very orderly. I'd like to move for approval. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as substituted. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to say a few words in support of the bill and LKQ. They have deep roots here in Tennessee. They employ 537 employees around the state in Alcoa, Bristol, Jackson, Manchester, and they actually already employ around 400 folks here in Nashville in my district in the Grassmere location. That's their national hub for accounting, HR, and IT functions. What they want to do here, they've done successfully around the nation, places like Houston, Denver, Tampa, Huntsville, and even already in Tennessee, they do this in Memphis. Some of the positives, I think, that would result, there's going to be an opportunity to reduce crime with fencing and lighting, eliminate the 24/7 traffic and disruption, reducing the noise for the local residents there in Shady Hills. They're going to make an investment of $1.7 million and bring somewhere around 20 full-time jobs to local residents and generate around $275,000 annually in tax revenue for the city. I've seen junkyards, you've seen junkyards. What they're proposing to do is very clearly not a junkyard, but a clean, environmentally conscious retail establishment. So I hope you'll agree with me, support the bill tonight, and welcome the expansion of a respected company that I believe will live up to its commitment to the residents of Tennessee and Nashville. Thank you.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I just want to compliment Councilman Davis on the hours and hours and hours of work that he has put in on this. I told him earlier tonight that he's coming of age here, being baptized by fire with his first major zoning thing. But he has done a tremendous job in working with his community and working with the company. The Planning Commission's disapproval of this was primarily based around the fact that it did not comply with the community plan. Information that the Planning Commission didn't have when that discussion was going on was the fact that the composition of a lot of the soil on this site would not support the intent of the community plan for residential development. And so I just want to compliment the councilman again on all the work that he's done. I'm going to support his bill, and I encourage you to do the same.
We need a machine vote. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Madam Clerk, will you close the machine and tally the vote?
33 aye, 1 no, 1 abstention.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-195, changes 2.48 acres from R6, RM20, RM40, SP, MUL, MUG, MUI, OR20, ORI, CL, CS, CF, IWD, and IR to MULA 1.5.0 acres, to MUGA 234.33 acres, to MUIA, and 63.22 acres to ORIA zoning for various properties in Midtown between I-44 and I-40. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve the substitute bill 5 for, 3 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There was a substitute last night. We had some discussion, and I would like to ask for suspension of the rules to introduce a new substitute, which is on everyone's desk.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Councilmember Allen.
Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to give a brief explanation then for the substitute.
Would you like to move it?
I would like to move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Allen.
Brief explanation. So as I said at the last council meeting, this bill is about managing growth. It's better planning to locate new businesses and residences in the city on a major corridor than to contribute further to urban sprawl. This bill provides a comprehensive approach to allowing for increase while instituting better urban design, like mixed-use zoning and pedestrian-friendly buildings and streets. As public awareness about this rezoning has increased, concerns have been raised about historic preservation, community input, and the effect on surrounding areas. The co-sponsors have worked with the planning staff and the historic director to address these issues. We've worked with planning and historic to identify significant historic properties and to begin to put protections in place. There's been an opportunity for community input at 2 points along the way already. This process began with the Midtown Community Plan update, which involved the community meetings back in February, 2 of them. There was strong support for land use changes that would allow for greater density along the corridors. Another 4 meetings were held about the rezoning proposal in May. The substitute bill that I'm now proposing calls for further urban design overlay process that will allow property owners and community members to discuss design guidelines and to create incentives for historic preservation, workforce housing, sustainable design, or other components that benefit the community. To align this UDO process with increase in development rights, which is how previous upzonings have typically happened, we had a discussion last night at the Planning Committee and determined that it would make more sense to divide this into 2 phases. So this substitute bill that you have before you creates a phased approach. The substitute makes adjustments to the zoning categories so that all the acreages that you read are actually slightly adjusted in this adjustment, so that the first phase contains only the mixed-use alternative zoning portion without increased development rights. It calls for a creation of an urban design overlay and for legislation to incentivize protection of historic property. The second phase, which will take place through future legislation, will include this UDO once it's complete and the actual upzoning. I believe this 2-step approach puts good urban mixed-use zoning in place today, and it will continue the careful thought that the Planning Department has already spent at least a year on. It will allow the community to learn more about what design guidelines are already inherent in this zoning, and it will allow for additional guidelines to be developed collaboratively between all stakeholders. I want to say how much I appreciate the efforts of the planning staff. They have been amazing. With their help, we feel that this bill, as substituted, can address the concerns that have been heard and provide for good growth for Nashville. And I ask for your support of the substitute.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the proposed substitute, and I have requests to speak lights on. Is it on the proposed substitute? Councilmember Holloman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just want to say to Council Lady Allen and to the other sponsors, Council Lady Gilmore particularly, I greatly appreciate you responding to the concerns of largely my constituents that have emailed you in the last few days and holding off on the granting of significant FAR increases and letting that process track with the UDO. I think that will be a better product in the end that we can all be proud of, and I greatly appreciate your willingness to amend this bill further and do that. And I want to say thank you to Planner Catherine Withers for getting up early today and actually accomplishing a lot of work today to get this here in time for us to be able to suspend the rules and move this on 3rd reading. So thank you for getting that done. And I know I speak for myself and for many of my constituents and many in this room that we look forward to the opportunity to work together in the UDO process to address design concerns as well as historic preservation issues. Thank you again, and I support and ask for everyone else's support and approval of this substituted bill.
Councilmember Langster.
Is this on the bill? We haven't amended it yet.
This is on the proposed substitute.
Okay, I want to
Which
speak.
is the bill.
Okay. Madam Vice Mayor, thank you for recognizing me, and I really want to give my appreciation to to Doug Sloan, the director of the Planning Commission, and Catherine Withers. They have been outstanding in working with me, with Councilmember Berkeley Allen. And I want to let our colleagues know Berkeley Allen is really a hard worker, a go-getter. She really had a lot to deal with and a lot of meetings, and I do appreciate her strong efforts in getting this bill to the point it's at. But I am willing to support this legislation because it does not, let me repeat, it does not downzone any properties in my district and provides thoughtful design guidelines for new construction in the Midtown area. If you don't know, Midtown is mostly in my district, the 21st District. However, I plan to bring legislation soon that will focus on encouraging infill development within my district. I believe that as leaders of our community, the Metro Council should be the one encouraging developers to devote resources to infill development through incentives. If we fail to do this, ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, developers will continue to look for opportunities in the more rural area of our county instead of thoughtful infill development. With that, as I said, I do plan to support it with legislation coming forward in a couple of months. Thank you.
Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm rising to support this rezoning. This is what in my business we call threading the needle. I represent a lot of the people who own property in this district, not necessarily people impacted by it. It's a very difficult rezoning. We still have some work to do on the design guidelines, but it appears we have the full support of significant property owners, and a lot of that has to do with Berkeley's work and Madam Edith's work as well, and Councilman Holloman's. It was a tough one, and I really appreciate what she did. Thank you. Oh, and Madam Gilmore, you too. Thank you.
All in favor of the proposed substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilmember Allen.
Move the bill as substituted.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-212 amends 1.2 acres of the Nashville Village Plan Unit Development Overlay District for property located at 171 Bell Road, zoned R10 to permit residential uses consistent with the scale of development along Bell Road, where a 100-unit, 5-story building was previously approved. Councilmember Johnson.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic approved 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-228 amends the Metro Code to modify the regulations and standards pertaining to the keeping of chickens on school property. Councilmember Tiger.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Weiner.
Health and Hospitals voted 7-0 to approve.
Thank you. Councilmember Tiger.
As amended.
Yes, and I need to ask the council's indulgence by suspending the rules for the purpose of considering 2 amendments.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Councilman.
I would move the bill, first of all. Then I will move amendment number 1 that addresses an issue, removes a restriction or provision that the principal sign off on the permit and instead requires the facility to have a valid facility use agreement for the applicant and the MNPS to allow the keeping of hens on the property.
We have a motion on the First Amendment. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Councilmember Holloman? Okay. All in favor of the First Amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
I would defer to Councilman Holloman for the Second Amendment.
Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. The second amendment is mine, and I would request a suspension of the rules for that as well.
Is there any objection?
And
Seeing none.
And this amendment comes at the request of some of the chicken advocates. This request takes away the requirement that electricity be run to these coops. There is concern and has been reports in the past of when these coops are electrified, they tend to catch on fire more often. So, and they also believe it's not necessary for the chickens. So with that, it's still available if someone wants to do that at a school, but it's not required.
We have
that would be fried chicken.
A motion and a second on the second amendment. All in favor of the second amendment, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Tiger.
With that, I would move the bill as with the two amendments, and as much as Councilman Stein would like to hear more explanation, I would just stop there.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. We need a machine. Yeah, we had a no vote. Madam Clerk.
33 aye, 2 no, 0 abstentions.
The motion passes. Next is BL 2012-229, amends the Metro Code to provide a waiver for the fee for zoning applications filed by members of council in response to the Planning Commission's determination that a planned unit development district is inactive after conducting a periodic review. Councilmember Johnson.
Committee report.
Councilman Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Councilmember Johnson.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we can take 230 and 231 together. BL 2012-230 cancels 0.9 acres of the Shops at Ridgeview Commercial Plan Unit Development Overlay District located on Eagle View Boulevard unnumbered east of Bell Road and approved for retail uses zoned MUL and proposed for SP. BL 2012-231 changes 0.9 acres from MUL to SP district for property located at Eagle View Boulevard unnumbered east of Bell Forge Lane to permit a car wash. Councilmember Dow.
Yes, committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to defer by rule both 230 and 231.
Thank you. Councilmember Dow.
I want to move this bill for approval.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules? Seeing none, Councilmember Dow.
I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-232 changes 1.63 acres from R10 to CS zoning for properties located at 2721 Shacklet Drive and at 555, 559, and 561 Upshaw Drive. Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0, and I would move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-233 changes 0.96 acres from CS to SP district for property located at 6115 Charlotte Pike to permit automo sales used, automo repair, and all other uses permitted by MUL district. Councilmember Baker.
All committees in, I move approval.
Need one more report from Councilman Claiborne.
Committee reports, please.
I'm sorry, I told Buddy wrong a minute ago. I failed to notice I had the last page here. Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Holloman.
I just wanted to ask, it said approve with conditions from the Planning Commission. Was this bill amended to include those conditions? Okay. They were added by amendment.
Before the bill was
prior
filed.
to the bill coming to us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-234 changes 1.72 acres from RM20 to SP zoning for property located at 2215 Abbott Martin Road to permit up to 90 multifamily units and an associated parking deck. Councilmember Todd.
Committee report.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, and Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd.
Move approval.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-236 amends the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance map by abandoning Reedwood Drive right-of-way and easement. Councilmember Stites.
Move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-238 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept and record easements on certain parcels of property for the use of the Harpeth River and Mill Creek Greenway systems. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committees having reported, I'd move approval.
Is there a second?
He did.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-239 approves the acquisition of property located at 1220 Berwick Trail for the Neely's Bend Pump Station Upgrade Project. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committees having reported, I move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Opposed,
no. Motion passes. BL 2012-240 authorizes the acquisition of property in fee simple by negotiation, condemnation, or acceptance for the purpose of acquiring land to add to the Julia Green Elementary property for Metro Nashville Public Schools. Councilmember Todd.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committee reports being in, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Claiborne.
Yes, Vice Mayor, I would, before we adjourn, like to make the council aware that Councilmember Glover had surgery yesterday. He fell and broke his ankle. He is at home in quite a bit of pain, but before we adjourn, I'd just like us to take just a moment of silence and think of Councilman Glover and his recovery over the next months.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.